LootBet. Do you want to become the best Dota player you can be? DotaHaven.com.
Hi folks, Killer Pigeon here at the KolMajor, here interviewing the one, the only KotLGuy, also known as Dakota these days. I mean, it's not the KotLGuy is more one and only. Dakota is more like, you know, there's a place called Dakota. There's a few strippers there called Dakota. Yeah. It's a wide name. So what do you prefer? Do you like to just go by Dakota now, or is it more back and forth?
I think it's pretty much ever since I kind of moved into this more like creative position, and knowing that I'm going to be interacting with different audiences and different people who are not going to know what a KotL is whatsoever, and I kind of want to just break through what potential confusion could have been there to be able to get to the matter at hand, let's say. But I'm still holding KotLGuy kind of endearing to Dota, and I'm not resistant to being like, oh, stop calling me KotLGuy. But if we're here within a Dota event, I think it's definitely appropriate for sure.
I can relate that, you know. I could have went with someone specific to Dota. I went with Pigeon. Pigeons are everywhere, you can accept that. But I mean, that's kind of interesting thing, is you did make that swing back and forth now. Obviously, back here as a caster, usually you do a lot of the production work for BTS. We didn't see you at TI. I think you got an invite to work for production.
That's right.
You turned it down. Of course, you are now a father.
Yep.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, timing, obviously, some would say was unfortunate, but obviously I can't really control these things, except we definitely had a good holiday, I guess, helped lead to that a bit. But I would never want to miss the birth of my son, of course. I know TI is such a grand event, and I did still miss it. It's definitely still a torn feeling to not be able to be there for the greatest Dota celebration of the year. And I was still happy to know that Valve at least gave me the nod that, hey, we would have loved to have you here as part of the creative team, and they were very understanding that it wasn't able to work out. So I was totally content with it, and just going to have better timing next time.
No, I can respect that. I mean, TIA was my first one, and there's something magical about it. You can't quite comprehend it. Like, I thought it was mind-blowing when I went to Birmingham, which was on my home territory, and you expect that to be your top one, but then you go to a TI, and you're like, wow, it's on a whole other level.
It really is. It's almost just a giant Dota 2 expo in a way, and it's definitely the only place that someone like me could go to, and I may actually be stopped every position, or people know me, or they're referencing stuff I've done, and that just blows me away. It blew me away since the first time I was invited to TI. Actually, the first time I was invited to TI4, nobody knew who I was. I was rarely on camera, and I was able to kind of just walk through the arena, and it was no problem at all, and I got to take in the event as a spectator, and I really got to enjoy it. And then things obviously changed a little bit after that. But yeah, it's a very special feeling, and once you're a part of that, you definitely have sad feelings the next go-around if you're not able to make it.
No, I really respect that. Like, being there, there's a few people to stop me, you know, because I'm just a small fish in a big pond. Mm-hmm. It's like, even just one person, there's something magical about it. It's when you start to realize it's like, it's very hard to comprehend how this whole industry is becoming more comparable to traditional media. Oh, yeah. But it really is, you know, like the whole logic of celebrities in the world of Dota is becoming a realistic one.
Yeah, I mean, they're athletes, and so of course they're going to be sought as high-profile celebrities, and that they're great at their craft, and the people who are going to see the game aspire to be as good as them. And then for the talent side, it's like these are the voices and the faces that I see tied to all these players and all the content I love. So it's their opportunity to be able to show maybe appreciation for that. And I certainly love it. Like, it's just being blown over with all this, you know, warmth and gratitude, and people who are just like finally letting you know after years of hard work that it was all for something. So yeah, it's great. There's rarely any ill feelings. It feels like people just like who don't want to be there. Everybody who's there wants to be there, of course.
And I guess one thing kind of to go back to, because we mentioned your son earlier on the course, is kind of an interesting thing is when you have a child is I think for a lot of people, especially in the Dota world, is something a lot of them haven't experienced yet. How has it really changed how you've had to approach your work? Because I guess it's a very unique scenario for you, because you've got an in-house job at BTS, which for a lot of like talent isn't going to happen. They're going to be freelance.
It's true.
How do you balance that life?
I think I'm firstly extremely grateful for the position I'll be able to be in with BTS. They put me in this kind of spot. They trusted that I had this kind of creative influence to be able to make events happen and just kind of like take on almost DotaSummit, let's say, and that product moving forward. And because of that, you know, they gave me this stable income, and recognizing that I am a family man and I need to be able to kind of bring the bread home and have a stable foundation. I've already come from a history of doing a lot of musical theater and acting, and I could live by gig and by gig and by gig, but there's just too much uncertainty there, and I don't really want that for my family. You know, I want a little more certainty. I mean, people would say that even esports might be uncertain, you know, but I definitely found a good spot right now, and I'm just kind of going with it as best I can. There's a great balance between being able to stay home and work on creative projects within there in LA, and you know, whether the product itself takes place outside of LA or not, I'm able to kind of balance between the two. And maybe an opportunity will come by that I do get to step out and do some casting. And
like here.
Yeah, like here. And yeah, now I get more homesick than I used to, you know? And 2 weeks does feel like a long time. And it may change some of the offers I do take. I probably can't do back-to-back events and stuff like that. So it has changed maybe some of the opportunities I'm able to go for, but it definitely helped me hone in on being able to do a better job with like that creative position and that stability position, and being able to just ensure it's, you know, something I always want to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can always do like Skype calls, whatever. It's not the same as being there for the first of your baby, child.
Yeah,
you know. Of course, that leaves a heartbreaking experience for the other Dominic in your life that we haven't seen at this event, right?
Yeah,
been replaced as your favorite. The costs, we're going to see more of you two together in the future.
I mean, it's easy to be able to put us together because, you know, we hit it off really well. The first time I got to work with Lacoste was the Dota Pit event in Croatia a couple of years back, and I don't know what it was. He definitely has a unique, dry sense of wit, and we kind of got each other right away, and it just, you're able to kind of build that chemistry together. So I guess naturally when I am put out there for casting events, he is probably someone we go right for. But I'm happy at events like this that they are going to give me the opportunity to work with other people. I've casted with Grant, maybe in tri-cast setups for like King's Cup and Summit, but I've never done just me and him at a tournament setting. And I was actually really eager and excited to be able to try this out. I mean, we both come from NA Dota and NEL, and you know, it might seem like on the servers we're going to be pretty biased with that, but it definitely brought a different element. And I don't know, I'm excited about it. I think lately I'm definitely more open to just trying things with more people. I understand that it feels good to be able to have like, this is a duo and they're set for life that way, but I also believe in being able to kind of expand and work with really anybody and make the most of it.
It's refreshing, right? Like, yeah. I mean, recently I've done a lot of stuff with Lizard. He's a great person, but
yeah, you guys are great.
Thank you. He makes it easy, right? His body, everyone wants to look at that.
He's funny and very talented.
Yeah, that's the benefits. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize the way you can kind of hop into this world is because he was a streamer for years. He just naturally glowed on camera.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know, recently when we were doing the main cast, I got to do a cast with Fog, and it was just like, oh my god, it's a whole new layer.
There's definitely just a different kind of chemistry, and it's not to say that there's not going to be like a rough and rusty period of when you're working with someone that it's going to be a little back and forth. I mean, that is with everyone. Whether the first time I cast a Lacoste, you know, I'm like, okay, you gotta kind of show a bit more emotion here. If I'm going to take the play-by-play to this level, you got to try to match me, you know? So there's definitely a give and take, and if your partner, let's say, or your co-caster trusts you on that and you're able to meet in the middle, then you're going to find that you guys have a great relationship and you're going to be able to want to keep working together. Not the case for everybody. Some people maybe just kind of have too similar a style. I don't know, me and Toby together, that probably wouldn't work out too well, maybe. I mean, I would love to try it still, but as far as in the long run, like maybe there'd be too big of a clash for as far as what the audience may want to get out of the cast itself.
I mean, we've had Black and Bulldog together, you know, so...
Which is great, and in small doses, and for particular games and particular events, and I think it has a place in the home. And but I don't know, if we kept having Black and Bulldog and it was grand finals all the time, maybe that wouldn't be for everyone. Maybe it would.
That's true. I mean, I think there's like an argument that once you're at a certain level in this job, you can just stick anyone. You can stick two play-by-plays like you were saying. I mean, at Dream League season 9, me and Owen put my cards together. There was a lot of Brett's comments. Other than that, you know, it was great. I enjoyed it. It's like, it's just, people I don't think they understand this job is more just talking to each other, right? Yeah. It's just a discussion. You don't have to be top 500 analyst material, was once a TI, etc. You can just get on the mic and talk.
Yeah, it definitely... For some people, I can't speak for everyone, but it should be about the love of the game, and as long as you're both convinced that the game is great and what you're seeing is true, like, that should just be expressed normally. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, there are people out there who maybe are trying a little too hard, and it's like, I want to make sure I say these marks and do these things and get these points across, which, you know, is great and good, but I think that the audience out there can recognize just people who are genuine and genuine to the game and just being authentic with it. And your co-caster should also be able to recognize that, and you'll just be drawn together naturally, and it's good. Dream League's also a great casual event, and they're going to be able to kind of put those pairings together, and you might quickly find out that you and OG are a match made in heaven, and then the people will respond, and they'll let you know, like, this is working well, and we want to see more of it, and then that will go to the TOs, and they'll be like, well, we got to put you together now.
I'm pretty sure if that happens, I'd wake up to fog muzzling me with a pillow in the middle of the night, right? So let's not push that one too hard.
There's definitely tight bonds out there that would be much harder to break, but what if something was to happen to Owen or to Fog or whatever? You don't want to be stuck, lost aimlessly without your co-caster suddenly and
what if
stuck
Fog
in a rut.
became a LOL caster, you know?
Yeah.
Think about that, Owen. You need someone to replace him. You know, it is great, like you said, you mentioned the less serious events, but there's always so much beauty about it, right? Like Summit, Dream League. It's really important to have this balance of serious events like here,
Of course.
which even here, we've got slats here. We're going to get some unseriousness regardless.
I mean, nobody wants a snooty, uptight, totally clean-cut event. I mean, I don't even think sports events are like that now. Like, it's just with the times, you know, with the kids and what they want to see, and whether it's memes or not, you got to be able to adapt to your audience here. And we love playing games, so you're not going to do your best work showing up in a full-blown necktie and talking about just the numbers. We like to have those people because there's always going to be people out there who want to push up their glasses and talk about all the different stat lines of how this player is better than the other, but then you're going to want people there to sniff out the drama and talk about the memes and talk about the culture in that way.
That's just give me a whole idea for in a hard section that's shaped out like an anime. You know the cool kid ones where they push them up, glasses, sheen, and then just the hard stats across the top.
Yeah,
Perfect. But I think that's like a good broad amount of things we talked about. Is there anything you want to get on specifically?
I don't know. Did you want to talk about this particular event at all?
You know what? That's a good idea. He's pointing the camera. Sorry, I'm so absorbed in conversation.
No, that's fine. I think the stuff we get to talk about right now is actually most of the things that do get passed on, and most people want to get right to who do you think's going to win the event? And
we should get on that.
We should get to that because people are going to be curious about it.
But we made them sit through the rest, so they deserve that list. All right. So who is your? You've seen enough, right?
Yep.
I think you've got to make a call now. Who is your favorite for winning this event?
I mean, LGD. It's not going to take me a lot to hesitate on it. I mean, I came in here pretty open-minded. I'm not a biased Dota person. I mean, yeah, maybe I like North American Dota a bit more, but I root for good Dota at the end of the day. If EG gets crushed by a 5-man RP and a beautifully executed setup, I mean, they just play damn good Dota, and I want to see more of that. And right now, that's LGD. LGD, Secret, and then you have like Verse Pro, EG, and such floating right in there. So I think LGD right now is probably the team to look out for. Damn, they play good.
I'm just imagining that scenario where that EG 5-man RP happens, and you're just sitting there, hyping it up, and you look across and Grant's like, no.
Yeah, there it is. But Grant's great at that too, and I've noticed even these casts, and there was one concern I had with him. It's like, I know Grant's a very, bias almost to a lot, but he still recognizes great Dota, and we've been pitted on a lot of these Chinese games too. Vici and LGD and Aster, we've casted all those teams all the way through, and rarely have gotten to cast American Dota, and I've seen him. We appreciate this good Dota, and we can recognize when a team like LGD, let's say, and Secret are just kind of on another level right now. We're on the back end of 7.19, and this is their best chance to kind of fully utilize that patch inside and out. But the interesting thing is that, yeah, we're seeing a lot of Terrorblade, we're seeing a lot of Morphling, but those next level teams are already starting to pull out things a bit different to kind of counter. They were prepared for that, and it's kind of like, dang, are we jumping into 7.2 a little too early almost?
I mean, I think like Brewmaster's focus on talk about that the way Secret, especially like that. It's like, how did this hero find relevance? I think you hear that. There's so many illusion-based heroes, especially. Like people forget it's huge counter to that. And it's kind of interesting. I think, like, I've had discussions with people about this before when we had these quick, more rapid patches. Is there was this kind of argument of it didn't need to happen because the metas weren't stagnating. We had one patch, folks, where everything just went to hell and everything was stagnant. And that's when we had to change things. But if you think about it, over the years, whenever someone's come in, got a little bit too powerful, people have eventually adapted and realized it's happening. I think my favorite example was Slark earlier this year. Slark appeared everywhere, and then like 2 weeks later, he went, hold on a sec, there's this guy that likes to sniff out blood. Maybe we should get him, and we'll win. And suddenly, Slark was not picked anymore.
Slark is a joke to bring up now.
Yeah.
And we're in the same patch. I mean, it's a shame because I think a lot of people like to jump on this patch is stale and I'm over it, but it's really not. There's a lot of people out there who are really thinking about the next level, and sure, they're putting up the front like, oh, we're going to get these same standard picks, but when the matches start to count, like we're seeing now at the major, and whether it's a difference between being eliminated or not, suddenly we got 4-position Centaur, Axis of support, new cores are popping into the scene, and we're starting to see some amazing Dota. I mean, I'm also still excited about 7.2. Maybe it's a little over time that we get some sort of game shift here.
A little bit of spice.
A little bit of a spice. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be something as dramatic as introducing a new element to the game, like how Shrines got dropped, let's say, or maybe the map needs a facelift in some sense because one side's getting an advantage towards Roche, let's say. It's going to be interesting, but no matter what, when the patch drops, there's going to be chaos. People figuring it out, people thinking they got to figure it out, and then quickly realizing they don't.
I think the interesting thing about the map in its current context is there is a clear advantage for one side on Roche. The others is a clear advantage for farming. But you don't see that come into fruition because right now the only farming hero that we could use that gets picked is Gyro. And that only gets picked as there's so many variables. And if there's an IO, then Gyro gets picked and we could use that. So it'd be interesting, I think, do you expect to maybe see a buff around the jungle perhaps? Because it's been an abused area. Like, when I say abused, I mean it's been stomped on, it's had its head kicked in. It barely exists anymore, right? It's just a side effect of this thing.
Pretty much the laning in general is definitely going to have to get some sort of look at a bit. I think a lot of attention's been put on the deny factor. There's a little too much value in just losing one range creep and suddenly you're gone. I don't play mid lane a lot, but I hear plenty of mid laners talk about how the game could be lost within the first wave. That's not right. I don't think that's right at all. It is depressing. And, I don't think it should be that way. And there's probably going to be some contributing factors in the upcoming patch to kind of help that a bit. And it could be something about, I don't know, changing how their jungle works, changing how their options are, breathing new life into having supports roam back towards that mid lane again a bit. It's going to be interesting to see. Ice Frog has an answer in some fashion, in some way, and we just have to bow before him and hope that it's the right say.
All right. Closing for one more question on teams of players.
Okay.
The team which has impressed you the most in this tournament, regardless of whether it's still or not, and the player that has impressed you the most?
Team that has impressed me the most so far. TNC, I think, is quickly becoming that team. They are continuing to push forward, and they're definitely resilient as hell. I feel like they have a shaky first game, and then somehow they're able to kind of just hone what they're trying to go for and quickly adapt. It's hard to pick out a player exactly, though.
Yeah, I do give you a broad one. I mean, it's kind of awkward because there's loads of different ways of looking at it, right? Because some people are going to still be thinking of different tournaments.
Yeah. Nisha, I think, is just continuing to be a ridiculous stud in his position. And he's definitely got to be the breakout star of the year so far, I'd say. I could be speaking way too soon, but it's ridiculous. And who knows? Maybe he's a patch player. 7.2 could roll out. No more Morphling, no more Terrorblade, and suddenly he doesn't know what the hell's happening. We'll have to see. That's probably the test of time for some of these players.
Yeah, that's true. Whether you can stay relevant across more patches is always a question in people's minds, but I think that rounds it out quite well. Awesome. This time around, when I say it, we covered all of the questions.
Of course.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure to cover.
Thank you.
It's good to catch up with you.
Thank you, KP. I appreciate that.
Any last words?
No. Thank you so much for everybody who supports me and what we do and Beyond the Summit. We'll continue to do our best and bring our best foot forward.